If you're looking at Q2, can you maybe speak to like some of the main initiatives that you rolled out or some things that you guys have learned kind of working on these accounts day to day? What if your Meta CPA doubled or tripled, but actually the financial picture was a lot better? Wouldn't you want to make that bet and wouldn't you want to pursue that?
So that's why the CPA went up from 33 to 75. What changed was AMER went from like 1.5 to 2.7 because all the ad spend we're spending is now going towards bringing in new customers. You have a crazy high MER, you're dumping more ad spend into it, but then at a certain point, the business just collapses and your P&L collapses because you're not bringing in new customers.
Kind of we like to play Ecom on hard mode. Hey, what's up, guys? Patrick O'Driscoll, co-founder CEO here at TVG. Today, I'm fired up for this one because we are joined by Rishi. He's one of our master growth strategists and client success managers here at TVG. And in this episode, we want to go deeper into what we're actually seeing on a day-to-day with our brands. And Rishi is one of our amazing team members that really has a pulse on these things and comes with a breadth of knowledge and experience working in the e-commerce space. So honestly, Rishi, let's just kick it off. Let's give like a quick intro on you. Maybe you could talk through like how long you've been working with us at TVG. There's a little bit of a background on yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on here, Pat. Been with TVG for a year, actually a little over a year now. I think maybe a year and a couple months. It's been an absolutely amazing experience working with some incredible brands in the fitness industry and supplement industry as well. It's definitely super rewarding to work with some of the most successful brands out there, as well as some new brands that are super motivated as well. So yeah, been in e-commerce for over a decade. Started with web design, got into SEO and then paid ads, and kind of lean into the full growth operator role here at TVG.
Yeah, 100%. And just for people watching, Rishi could potentially be someone that you work with here, and he has his handful of brands that he's working with on day to day. I shouldn't say handful. He works with a good amount of brands. And, today we want to just talk about, what we're seeing in our accounts, kind of what trends, some tactics that you can walk away potentially and implement into your brand. If you guys are familiar, if you're watching this, you've seen some of our content before. We take a holistic view to scaling in the Shopify side. So one of the big initiatives that we've done really kind of into this year is shifting from like just platforms, running Meta, running Google, running Klaviyo, and really looking at the whole financial picture. And that's one thing that Rishi does an excellent job at. So, from a high level, Rishi, like over the last, like, if you're looking at Q2, can you maybe speak to like some of the main initiatives that you rolled out or some things that you guys have learned kind of working on these accounts day to day?
Yeah, absolutely. In Q2, I'd say have pretty much fully made the transformation where every account is 100%, in our opinion, and from what the best in the industry say, including us, we've made the transition to fully take advantage of the way Meta's Andromeda update kind of requires the accounts to look for success. Depending on who you ask and what leaders in the industry your favorite person is, or even if you don't follow anyone, but depending on who you look at, everyone has a slightly different idea, but we all agree on one thing. At this point, creative velocity and diversity is paramount to success. And at TVG, we've always done a great job with creative velocity and diversity, but it also matters how that's deployed. Because what can happen is, and with many brands that have come in, we do an audit of their account, and we can see over the last year and a half, maybe they tested 100 ads. Some have tested 1,000 ads, but so many of them are turned off. So many of them have gotten like $1 of spend or $10 of spend and $40 of spend, and they're turned off. And maybe they even had a high CTR, maybe they had a low CTR, but the brand will come in and tell us, okay, we've tested these, they're not performing. And it's like, okay, well, how did you test them? It's like, well, we have them in we have 7 campaigns and each campaign has 14 ad sets, and no one can really give you a straight answer why there's 14 ad sets. And if you're going to break out, when you have multiple campaigns and ad sets, there needs to be a method to the madness. So what we've done is we've taken these brands that have been spending anywhere between 10K and like 150K a month on ad spend, fragmented across campaigns and ad sets, and we've consolidated them, and we've segmented where it makes sense. But essentially what we've found to be the most successful is keeping it simple and stupid for the most part. So that could look like a maybe 2 to 4 campaigns. It could be one CBO campaign, or it could be two CBO campaigns. One is going to be having a ROAS target. One may be a bid cap, or instead of bid cap, it could be a cost per result. And within that, keeping the ad sets as minimal as possible. And if we're going to have multiple ad sets, those need to be aimed at either one ad set is for a certain AOV, and another ad set's for another AOV, or one ad set's for a particular avatar. But even if you have multiple offers, if you think it's the same person that's going to be buying these products, it makes perfect sense to keep multiple offers within the same ad set. So once we've done that, what we've seen is frequency starts to go down. And that's one thing that a lot of agencies and a lot of solo founders tend to ignore, because maybe they don't understand what frequency is, or they think high frequency is a good thing. Oh man, I'm hitting these guys with so many ads so many times. But what it means is that you're not able to truly understand what's successful and what's not. And because essentially, if you have high frequency between multiple campaigns or ad sets, there's a lot of overlap there. So you could end up wasting money, wasting impressions. The goal is to keep that as low as possible, which we've deployed for all of our accounts, and we've seen that our ROAS has gone up, our AMER has gone up. We are able to properly test creatives now. There's no need to force spend. In 90% of cases, there's no need to force spend with an ABO campaign, because the way CBO works is Meta is going to put ad spend behind the ads that are successful and that are getting engagement. If it's not getting any engagement, if it's not bringing in traffic, if it's not stopping the scroll or getting thumb stops, Meta's not going to put any ad spend behind it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's been a big shift, obviously, is consolidation, like you just outlined. And you allude to a few good things that, some people might not fully understand if they're just watching this. One metric that you briefly brought up is AMER. And I think we brought on a brand a couple months ago, one or two brands in the supplement space. If you know what I'm alluding to here, it's that third brand down on the brand
Mm-hmm.
breakdown here.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of scenario is, I feel like, what I see a lot when we're auditing brands, when brands want to work with us, is like they have, they think Meta CPA, Meta, what's reporting in there is actually growing the business. What we instead want to look at is, as kind of a Northstar, is the acquisition marketing efficiency ratio, which what we call AMER. So maybe can you speak to
Yes.
that, of like how we look at that for brands, maybe even walk through how you went about doing that for that specific brand. And, people might be surprised that Meta CPA went up, but the actual Northstar goal improved. So maybe you can just speak towards that.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a great point. How those two things moved in opposite directions. So yeah, this brand came in spending quite a bit of money every month. They were fully under the impression that they were properly testing all their creatives. Once we did the audit, we noticed there was no exclusions for any of these, or at least I would say 90% of these ad sets or campaigns didn't have any exclusions. So we didn't even have audiences set up, so we didn't know how much spend was going towards engaged audiences. We didn't know how much was going towards existing audiences, and we didn't know how much existing customers, and we didn't know how much was going towards new customers. So one, we set up those audiences. Two, we added all the exclusions, so that way maybe we have like 5 or 10% of the budget going towards a retargeting campaign, but the name of the game is bringing in new customers as efficiently as possible. So that's what we did. All of our campaigns now have 720-day customer exclusions. So anyone that's bought in the last 720 days is no longer going to get an ad. So what we saw, as you said, of course, new customers are going to be significantly more expensive to bring in. They have no idea what the product is. They have no idea who you are as a brand. So that's why the CPA went up from 33 to 75. But what changed was AMER went from like 1.5 to 2.7, because all the ad spend we're spending is now going towards bringing in new customers. AMER is going to be your total new customer net sales divided by total ad spend, where MER is marketing efficiency ratio, is just total net sales divided by total ad spend. So that means you could be spending all your money on a retargeting campaign. Klaviyo could be bringing in all the revenue from customers. That's still going to show as net sales in Shopify. You have a crazy high MER. You're dumping more ad spend into it. But then at a certain point, the business just collapses and your P&L collapses because you're not bringing in new customers, or you have no idea if you are, and you have no real metrics to scale off of. So now that we've established, and also that I want to go back to the point of establishing a baseline. No creatives were truly tested in this account because cold audiences, existing customers, and warm audiences were all combined as far as how the targeting was. Now we can truly see, are these ads actually working to bring completely unaware people into the brand?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I like to say, tell brands when they want to work with us is kind of we like to play ecom on hard mode, like we as an agency. And the reason why I say that is because when I audit these accounts, kind of like what Rishi was talking about, is they might see like, oh, our Meta CPA is good, our Meta ROAS is good, and then just through a quick audit, running a breakdown, I can see they're just overspending on existing customers. And so, what I mean by we play on hard mode is we want to actually set up the ad accounts for new customer growth and long-term financial health, which is what a business owner should care about. So when a lot of brands come to me and they're so fixated on, our Meta CPAs or our Meta ROAS, I kind of have to unravel that thinking because I'll tell them frank, like, hey, what if your Meta CPA doubled or tripled, but actually the financial picture was a lot better? Like, wouldn't you want to make that bet and wouldn't you want to pursue that? Yeah. So it's really simple. If you are watching this and you're running a, Meta ads, run that breakdown. You can run an audience segment breakdown and see where your spend is going. Is it actually going towards new audience? And what we want to do, like I said, play on hard mode is let's exclude a lot of those existing customers. Let's test creatives on hard mode because all Meta wants to do is kind of get you to the least path of resistance for a purchase. So, if you
Yep.
just keep it broad or if you're just retargeting your existing customer base, of course they're going to convert at a lower Meta CPA. And so we want to do what actually grows a brand, which is acquiring new customers. So that was a great breakdown, Rishi, and that's kind of something that we started as a meta ad agency. We thought that ROAS and everything was the thing to focus on. And as we've worked with larger and larger brands and had better and better success, we've kind of shifted kind of the financial metrics and the guardrails that we want to scale around. The other thing too, that maybe you can speak towards is kind of the introduction of, you talked about target ROAS, bid caps, cost caps. Like, how have you guys been navigating that? Because I know we've been starting to roll that out on a lot more accounts or start to think about that. When is the time and place to do it? How are you thinking about implementing those?
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things that we have to approach slowly because we often also get accounts that are healthy and fragmented where based off of best practices, we're confident there's money left on the table if it was restructured in a more simplified way. Because maybe there's like 3 or 4 ABO campaigns, there's a couple of CBO campaigns, but it's important not to just turn it on its head overnight because then you could have a serious cash flow problem. Well, everything goes into learning. So what we do is, our methodology is not to turn things on their head overnight. It is to slowly deploy new campaigns, slowly copy winning ads over from existing ABO campaigns into the new CBO. And as it starts to pick up and it starts to generate a good amount of purchases or conversions, we'll start to slowly sunset old ads. But what that allows us to do in the long term is test a lot more creative, a lot more efficiently. A TROAS campaign requires some amount of actual conversions that have already happened in the account for Meta to have enough learning. So you can't just spin up a brand new ad account and put like a 3x ROAS and throw money at it and just be like, I'm going to be a millionaire. Your creative needs to work at some point first. It needs to work enough that you get like whatever Meta's threshold is. I can't recall off the top of my head of conversions or purchases to come in. Then you can start a TROAS campaign. So if you're brand new and you don't know what to do, the best thing you can do is start a CBO campaign, which just for anyone that doesn't know what that is, you're essentially giving Meta X amount of dollars and throwing a bunch of creative at it, and Meta's going to decide where to put that money based off of the millions of signals, thousands of signals that it gets from people interacting with the platform and with the ads. So that's the best thing you can do. Once you have actual conversions coming in, at some point you'll be able to start a new CBO campaign or just a new campaign in general and be able to toggle the TROAS method. And even that's not something I'd recommend you put at like a 5 or a 10x or something crazy like that. It makes sense to put it at like a 1.5 or a 1.2. Sometimes you have to keep lowering it until it actually converts. And again, none of this will solve poor creative. This is all supporting to good creative. Good winning creative is what's gonna enable you to actually take full advantage of all these different campaign
Yeah.
functions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
100.
yeah, but that's how that would work. It's like something that you could start with for a campaign setting could be like the cost per result or a bid cap, which those are not interchangeable things. Cost per result is literally a very like I don't want to spend more than $30 for a
Yeah.
CPA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And yeah, we could obviously go super in the weeds of meta account structure and everything, but I think those are some of the big transitions or things we're, testing on our accounts and seeing some positive results. Is there anything else, any other stories or like key learnings over the past quarter or even like year to date that you're seeing, or even like stuff that you're rolling out actively with our brands you wanted to, chime in on?
yeah, for sure. A couple of things that I want to mention that may have seemed like these were hard and fast rules that I said before is generally speaking, like I said, CBOs are the way to go. But when you have short seasonal
Mm,
sales that you're confident are going to do well, or you know that have done well in the past, that's definitely one of those things where you should carve out the budget and force spend onto those ads. You know, if it's like a 5 day July 4th sale, or if it's something like Black Friday, it makes perfect sense when you have massive discounts to put as much money towards it as possible,
yeah.
as long as it's producing. And that's, if you have an established Meta account, that's where you can put a ROAS goal and an amount of daily budget that Meta is going to do its best to spend.
Yeah.
So that's something that we've seen success
Yeah,
with.
so like we're talking about is like Father's Day sale, weekend sales, obviously Black Friday, we do stuff like that. So kind of like those short term
Exactly.
things. And then the CBOs and stuff's more like that evergreen where you're trying to build that long term momentum. Yeah, that's definitely huge. And that's the thing with like that's what I personally struggle with whenever we create content around ads. It's a lot of people try to make it like it's this way or nothing else. Like you do CBO, we only do ABO, we don't do big caps, we do big caps. It's like there's so much nuance, and that's really where we come into play, and where you work with someone like Rishi on a day to day that like knows a time and place to test different things. And so I think a tough thing that a lot of e-commerce brands talk about is that like everyone wants to have like their method, like is this or nothing else works. There's so much nuance when it comes to the ad account, but if you think about it from like the principles of like we want to prioritize new customers, we want to bring our NCAC down, meta ROAS might not be the best North Star, and then we kind of work together to deploy that plan that makes the most sense for a brand. So this has been great. Obviously, if you guys are interested in potentially working with us and potentially working with Rishi as well, then wherever you're watching this, there's probably a link down below to schedule a audit with us. So definitely check that out. We'll look at your Meta, your Google, your Klaviyo, your Shopify, and figure out how we can scale you more profitably. But with that all being said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Shout out, thank you to Rishi for joining today, and we'll see you guys soon.